Welcome to the Viva Bastardo Show, which is a part of the Hagerty podcast network. This is a show about all the stuff that I find fascinating, which is almost everything. Obscure cars, interesting watches, weird YouTube shows that I watch. I'll be talking to interesting people, probably a lot more interesting than me, and you will learn a whole armada of totally useless information.
Well, that's good. It's good. My brain wasn't full enough of just useless stuff.
It's good. The minutia's good. Because when you don't really know anything, when you're kind of dumb, it's always good to dazzle people with useless information. That's been my technique for years.
So let me ask you this. What's your name?
Oh, you don't need to know my name. Well, Philip Toledano is the name. God,
Is that so? And just so we're on the record here, my name's Matt Tuccillo, and I'm here to help you. Be your Sherpa of sorts. But I used to do this for hip-hop magazines. State your government name for the audience.
It's Philip Toledano. Yeah, I don't have any middle names.
Okay.
I mean, it's kind of disappointing. So for that reason, when my daughter was born, her middle name is Marmalade.
Right, because it's a throwaway space. Just throw any word in
Yeah,
there.
well, you might as well have something interesting in there. Like, it would be great if it was Philip Hound Dog Toledano, or, well, maybe not. Philip Sardined, I don't know. You know what, forget it. I'm just going to go with the no middle name thing.
Okay, so you're Phil.
Yeah, Phil is good. It's the common touch. I'm a man of the people, so Phil.
Okay. And then if people don't know your government name, what's your internet name?
Internet, well, there's the OnlyFans internet name, and then there's the Instagram internet name, which is Mr. Enthusiast. So you may know me from Mr. Enthusiast and all the weird odds and ends I post on there.
Perfect. I think most people will probably know you from your internet name than your
They won't know
street name.
Yeah. Although I was recognized, I was at the hotel I was at last weekend. Some guy came up to me, like, "Hey, how are you?" And I thought, "Oh shit!" I was in the boot room getting some skis fitted, and he's like, "Hey," and I was with Lulu, my daughter, and he goes, "Hey, how are you?" And I'm thinking, "Oh shit! See, this is what happens. I'm so old, I can't remember ever meeting anyone anymore." And he was like, "Hey," he started talking. I was like, "Oh shit, sorry, I follow you on Instagram." And I go, "Oh, okay, thank you for just explaining that, so I don't feel like I had to pretend I know you."
Imagine if he never did.
Yeah.
You would just be sitting there wondering on the ski lift, where do I know him from?
That happens all the time, so I've given up.
All right, so we've gotten your government name. You've given the audience a little bit of a description of what we're going to be doing here with this show, which is all things Bastardo.
Right.
Which I can't roll the R.
Bastardo. I mean, all things Bastardo to me is kind of a slightly contrarian look on life. It's the idea of looking at things that are a little unlooked at, the idea of looking in a direction that people are not looking towards, and finding things that have sort of been hidden in the shadows, or under tarps, or covered by dust balls that have not been paid attention to, that maybe deserve to be paid attention to.
So, like conspiracy theories?
Yes. Exactly. QAnon. This is really a QAnon channel. So if you're into QAnon, this is the place to come to. I'll happily discuss how the world is flat, the lunar landing never happened.
Oh, man. Makila is texting me right now. Apparently the show is canceled before we started.
He has a couple of notes, just a couple of notes.
A few notes. He has a few notes for us. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to work out of order here on some things.
Okay.
What was your first car?
The first car I had was in college, was an 84 GTI, Volkswagen GTI, Volkswagen Rabbit, and the muffler fell off, and it was just sounded fucking amazing. Like from then on, the moment the muffler fell off, I thought, you know what? I really love cars, and I'm obsessed with how they look. I remember the very first car I cut out of a magazine, put on my wall, and you have to. This is a bit of a contextual thing. It was like an 84. Camaro Z28 in red that I cut out from a Time magazine because I'm English. So, so I grew up in England. So this thing I looked exotic and amazing, because think about English cars or cars in England in the 80s.
They were kind of shit.
Yeah, they were like pressed balls. So this thing looked amazing. So I put that up on the wall. I never had the Lamborghini, but I remember walking to school and seeing like the Porsche 928, the BMW 6 Series, and I saw a couple of times I saw like a Lancia Delta Integrale, and I once saw in a showroom a Renault 5 Turbo 2, and I was just like a Dickensian street urchin, like coal smudged cheeks pressed up against the glass, just mesmerized by that thing.
Were your parents like, why are you looking at this?
Oh yeah, because as a kid, so we had the car we had as a kid was a British Leyland Austin Maxi, and you should Google it because it's like a mini. That's gotten into a fight and taken steroids simultaneously. It's really ugly, and it was brown. It was like a honey brown on the outside, and sort of like an explosive diarrhea brown on the inside, with perforated plastic leather seats, which I remember would leave this like mesh pattern on my schoolboy legs because I had to wear shorts going to school.
This, by the way, the color you described of this car sounds like most of the food in the UK.
It was in the 70s. It was color matched. It was PTS. It was paint to sample.
Oh, paint to sample British cuisine.
Yeah.
Well, so I want to go in an order because I have a list here because I'm very methodical. But
Okay.
But okay, so you grew up in the UK?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I grew up in London and Casablanca because my mum was from Morocco. So yeah.
That's where the exoticness comes
That's
from.
right. That's right. Yeah.
And then when did you get over here?
So I came to. I was living in Paris after I went to college in Boston, and then I moved back to Europe. I was living in Paris for a couple of years, trying to be a fashion photographer and failing dismally. So my cousin said to me, "You know what? You should move to New York." And I thought, "You know what? That's an amazing idea." So I moved to New York in '92 or '93, and got a job in advertising.
But wait, so you did school in Boston?
Yeah.
Can you do the Boston accent?
No, I can't do that one.
You pack the cat?
Yeah, I can't do that one. I can do like a weird, like a kind of a John Wayne. Do you know?
No one in Boston sounds like John Wayne.
Well, you're right. But that's the only voice. I could do like a weird, like, oh my God, my ass is like so enormous right now in these Ugg boots and like juicy couture sweatpants. Like that's the other voice.
So you can do like a young girl TikTok voice.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I could do like a young girl, California Valley girl voice for some weird reason, and then the other American accent. Oh, the announcer accent.
Right, which is very good.
Yeah, brought to you by.
Right, which you probably heard in the ad reads at the beginning of this.
That's right.
So London area?
London, central London, then I guess New York since '92.
Okay. Very interesting. So
Is it? Not really.
No, it is. I mean,
It's great.
No,
See,
really wonderful.
The higher
Right.
the higher the voice, the bigger the bullshit.
Right. Yeah.
No, it's very interesting.
This is why I don't play poker. Oh, what cards you have? I don't have anything.
I've got
no.
an amazing hand.
No, but okay. So you were here like before it was like Disneyland.
Yeah,
New
that's
York.
exactly right. Yeah, I was here when I know this is such an old guy. I was here when you don't know what it's like. But I mean, it's a kind of a geezery thing to say, but New York was more interesting because it was so varied. Like you go to Times Square and it was this sort of nexus of filth and porn and strangeness. You know, you go to the East Village and it was sort of interesting and slightly like I used to go to all these nightclubs in Alphabet City, which was sort of like this dangerous, semi-abandoned area.
I mean, it's still not great at night.
I mean, there were rows upon rows of empty buildings, and you used to see, like, it was during the Giuliani years, you'd see helicopters in the middle of the night, and they'd be doing these police raids, trying to empty out these squats and all this kind of stuff. And you could live cheaply. Like, I remember I shared a 2-bedroom, it was a railroad. We had roaches like herds of bison just roaming the walls, and you'd lift up shit and there'd be like 1,000 roaches just run. It was amazing. I remember, and we got all our furniture from the street. I remember once there was this really peculiar smell in my room.
Wait, just for clarification, the street was not some like really hip store. It was the literal street.
Yeah, it was the actual street. So
nice.
Yeah, we got our sofa from there. I had as my desk chair, it was a round cylindrical cardboard tin that said like flavor number 62 on it. So I think it was for the Chinese restaurant next door. I remember that, yeah, so there was this weird smell, and after like 4 or 5 days, like, okay, fuck it, let me just find out where the smell's coming from. And eventually I shook out this dead mouse that was in my shoe. So that was the weird smell.
Okay, so
it was, I think it was $700 a month, and split, so you could live there. You could live in the city in a real apartment for not much money.
So this is 92.
This is 1892.
1892.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Right after the Civil War, I was at a loss, didn't know what to do.
So it's 92. So you've been through school. You've been to Paris.
Yeah.
Didn't work out as a fashion photographer, which is a really smart plan if you're trying to meet chicks.
Right. Kind of. Yeah. But it was French girls, so they want to have nothing to do with me.
Nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with you, unless you have cigarettes. Did you have a car at any point during this time? Like when you were here in the 90s,
school? Yeah, in the 90s. Well, so then the first car after that, I bought a Volvo P1800 from a guy in Long Island who was moving to like Dubai or something, and it was his baby. And I bought it, I think, for like $3,000. And I would drive it around the city. I street parked it, so it's outside my East Village. I was living in East Village. I street parked on the street, and every time it rained, I have to go down there with a wire wool to like get the rust off all the chrome bits. But it was an amazing looking car. But it was like driving a sit-down lawnmower. I mean, it was a terrible car to drive, but it was beautiful to look at.
No, P1800 is like the timeless design. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I remember a couple of times I got pulled over by the cops because they just wanted to know what it was.
It was like a straight spaceship to them.
Yeah, they were like, and I mean, it wasn't that I was speeding. I couldn't physically speed in that car, unless it was down a steep hill. But yeah, so there was that car. And then when I got a job in advertising, and I made a bit of money, I bought a 1990 Porsche C2.
Wow, you really went like full ad exec. Like...
Oh, totally. And it was.
Did you have the ponytail? Oh, that's right. That's record. That's record. That's record guy.
I had a hat with the ponytail attached.
Nice. Okay.
That would just, yeah. So it was a rat's tail, so braided and peroxide tip. Details are very important. So then I had the silver, which was $27,000. No,
you buy it new?
No. It was used, and it leaked quite a bit of oil. And that's the car. I did an amazing, so I really didn't know anything about driving. I mean, I don't know much more now, but I was driving, I was going an off-ramp, it was raining, and I downshifted, didn't match the revs, and then just did this kind of Baryshnikov triple pirouette off the off-ramp into the mud, just spinning around and around. I remember I was spinning toward this one pole in the middle of this giant field, and all I was thinking about was, shit, I don't have the money to fix this car if I hit the pole, and I stopped about a foot from it. And I remember just hearing the ticking of the engine and just thinking, holy shit. And then all the cars driving past, no one stopping to see if I was okay because I was some dick in a Porsche.
Right.
So you know.
With now a matching brown interior.
That's right. Polka dot. It's more of a Jackson Pollock sort of decor.
Yeah, that's the problem with the 911. Eventually, the motor wants to lead.
Yeah, but I didn't know any. I mean, downshifting on a turn in the rain.
Yeah,
is probably that's like the holy trifecta of stupidity.
Yeah, I'm not a racing instructor, but I could tell you that's probably not.
You would advise against it.
Yeah, my non-professional opinion says don't do that.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so after the 911, after you got through the Mad Men years, what then?
Well, the Mad Men years, I was in advertising till like 2000, I think it was, and then I picked the tech collapse to decide to become a photographer and an artist. So that's what I did from 2000 till basically now, with also like the Viva Bastardo a lifestyle brand I seem to have inadvertently started over the last year and a half.
So when you were doing the ad stuff, obviously, the 911, right? Check that box. Yeah. But is that also when watches came in?
No, watches didn't happen until 2015 because I sold.
What?
Yeah, I'm really.
What?
I know. I'm like a new.
I know you. I know you for mostly watches.
No, I was because I always resisted the idea of. I didn't want to be. I felt like it was such a cliche. Like you like cars, you like watches, you like watches, you like cars. Like it was just this. I didn't want to be that guy. Like here's my Porsche. Oh, and I'm wearing a Rolex Daytona. Have you seen my chronograph? So I didn't want to be that guy, but then of course I ended up being that guy because I sold.
I was gonna say you have a Daytona, at least one.
No.
Yeah.
I had one and I sold it.
Okay.
Because I realized this. Well, that's another story. But so in 2015, I had a Lancia Fulvia Sport Zagato.
Which for the viewers at home or listeners at
somewhere,
listeners
at home with their pants off. It's like a It's a 1960, I think it was, a 59. They made 500 or very few of these cars. They were really beautiful cars. And so I bought this car and I realized that it was beautiful as it was. I was kind of really into Group B cars. I was sort of collecting those at the time. So I sold it to a guy actually Ben Clymer who started Hodinkee, and then Ben and I became friends, and through him I got this miserable watch virus thing.
Oh, so he was kind of like the friends, like, hey, come over, try this stuff. And you're like, I don't know, man. My parents said don't do that. And then he was like, nah, just try. It's fine.
And the next thing, I'm stealing money from and jewelry and selling it, working the streets as one does.
Right, you got to support that watch habit.
Yeah, but it was. But I don't even know why. Like, it's not like I don't remember him sort of showing me watches and then me being like, oh, those are cool. It was just sort of the proximity. I guess I sort of fell into his orbit, and I started looking at them and then thinking, oh, this is kind of interesting. And then the frenzy began.
Okay, so at least we can pinpoint who put you onto this.
Yeah, for legal reasons. The lawyer has been advised that it's all his fault.
But wait, so you sold him a 59?
I sold him a 90. Well, he might be on the show at some. But I sold him this Sports Zagato, and then.
And what is the Sports Zagato?
It's I think it's aluminium bodied, 6-cylinder, front engined touring car.
So the 2-door?
It's a 2-door. It's silver, really beautiful. It was a Lancia. It was a normal Lancia Flaminia, but then rebodied by Zagato, so it had like the double bubble and all this kind of stuff. It was lovely. So Ben bought it. Then I think 3 or 4 months later, it promptly like burst into flames.
As an Italian car should.
Well, as a car that I would sell should, which is what he says.
Oh, okay. So this is where we do the disclaimer: don't buy from you.
Yeah. Side effects may include cars bursting into flames. He claims that there was the oil ran out of the car. I don't know. Who knows what happened? And now it's it's all restored and beautiful and fantastic. Like, it wasn't like the full toaster oven situation. It was just sort of a mild singeing.
Oh, okay. A light fire.
Yeah. It was a sort of an aperitif.
Oh my God. So take us from the 911 to the Lancia that you sold that had a great warranty, obviously.
So there was a long period where I just had the 911, and then I started making some money through all my illicit activities. And then the first car,
which you do not recommend people pursue those.
Yeah, which I do not recommend. So the first car, the real car that I bought, it was funny because then I started making some money. I was like, oh shit, I have enough money to buy cars. And I remember so clearly, like, being sort of surprised by that realization, like, I have this money and I can do things with it now. Like, it just
like, you're like, what do I do? Oh my God, I could purchase stuff.
This money can be purchased in exchange for objects.
I can participate in capitalism.
That's right. So I bought, I bought a 1971 Ferrari 246 Dino GT in dark blue with a black interior.
Which the Dino, full disclosure, I didn't even know that was a Dino. I just would see like, oh, the weird, ugly, wedgy.
No, it's not the wedge. It's
not?
the super curvy one, the really beautiful one.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got my years completely mixed up. Yeah, because that's what I know as a Dino. Like, to me, that's the Dino.
The 246 was the Dino, and then the 308 GT4 was also Dino. I also had one of those, but later.
Oh, God. Okay.
So I bought this 246 Dino. I remember. In between, I had an Aston Martin DB9 which I then had which the missus kind of semi-bought for me for my 40th, I think.
Wait, what?
Well,
your wife bought you an Aston Martin DB9 in the 90s?
This is 2000s. This is like mid 2000s.
Okay, so like
so when they were not new, when they were old, like mid to late 2000s.
So this would be was this one of the Bond films with Pierce Brosnan, maybe?
Well, okay, just to make things clear, we kind of split the cost. She said, I'll put some money in, and then, because her job, she was...
Were you married?
Yeah, I was married.
Okay.
I was married.
Isn't it all the same pot?
I was married.
Isn't it all the same pot?
So, yeah, sorry, I forgot that. So I had a DB9 briefly, and which was kind of great, but then it was too big, so then I traded it for a Vantage, an 07 Vantage, in meteorite gray.
That's a good-looking car.
That car is the best bargain on the market right now.
It really, honestly,
they're like 30 grand.
They're really, granted, they're really beautiful.
Yeah.
They drive really nice.
Yeah.
The electronics.
No, I didn't have any problems. I had no problems with the car.
None?
None. I had no problems with that car. And
you might be the only man in America.
And you want to know what I did with that? This was the best deal in the history of cars. I partially traded that car for a Lancia Stratos.
Genius. That's actually that is.
It was the best because I went down and when I went, I'm going down a rabbit hole. I went down to see the Stratos. It was in Florida at a dealer, and I drove it. It drove like 100 yards, vomited all the fluids. We had to push it into a gas station, and I said to the guy, "I'll take it. I like the way this is vomited fluids. I love the way this doesn't work. I'll take it." But then I traded the Vantage for it. And that kind of got me down the wormhole of Group B cars. Now we've gone off on a side road. I can't even remember what the question was.
Well, no, because I'm trying to get everyone at home or in their car or hiding out in the bathroom at work, which is where I would listen to this.
It's a suitable location.
It's a very suitable location.
Yeah.
It's kind of get everybody up to speed on your history
of cars.
Because I think I feel you've had some very interesting stuff, especially now that we're kind of transitioning into the Group B period.
Well, before the Group period. Okay, so I can give you a vaguely chronological. Before the Group B period, I was very interested in 60s stuff. So I had the 246 Dino. Then I bought an ISO Grifo. Do you know what that is?
I do not know what I should. Hold on. I'm going to do the thing where like every other podcast in America does. I'll Google it.
It's a Giugiaro design. Really,
ISO Grifo for sale. Sure.
Yeah. So I bought an ISO Grifo. It's a Giugiaro design with a Corvette engine. So I had that car. I took that car on Copper State, which is one of those rallies, like a 3,000-mile rally through the desert. It's really a kind of a big boaty car. And so I realized, you know what? I don't like big boaty cars. I like kind of nimble, darty cars. So I had that. I sold it. I had a Renault Alpine A110. I had a Lancia Fulvia Fanalone, the rally version, and then I sort of fell down. And then I went down to Florida, same dealer before the Stratos. I had gone down to look at a De Tomaso Mangusta, 4-headlight silver car.
Okay,
$80,000.
Oof.
And I got in it, and it was like driving a postal service truck. I mean, my head was touching the windscreen. I literally must have driven it for 5 minutes and thought, holy shit, how can anyone think this is any, it was the word, I'd rather get like a pedal car. So he had in the showroom, he had 2 M1s, a black one and a blue one. And I'd never been very interested in them, but I thought, well, you know what, I'm here, I should just have a go. It seemed foolish to not.
I mean, why would you? If someone offered you the chance to drive a BMW M1,
but I knew nothing about them. I had no interest. So but I thought, I was like, okay, why not? So I got in the M1, I drove it, and my balls exploded.
All over the interior.
Yeah, all over the interior.
So it had a white interior.
Yeah, I had to pay for a custom cleaning, forensic level cleaning. But it was the most. It was such a. It just blew me away how amazing this car was. And I got out of the car, I tried to buy it, couldn't buy that one, so I bought a different one. But I thought, you know what? I'm not interested in 60s anymore. I just no interest in that. So I sold all the 60s.
So wait, so the Mangusta turned you off of 60s cars?
No, the BMW M1 turned me on to 80s cars.
Okay.
It was kind of like, it was this weird, I was like, I just thought, what an amazing experience this is. Why am I fucking around in the 60s? Although I'm sure there's amazing 60s stuff. So I had a 388 GT4, I sold that, I sold the Dino, I sold all that stuff. And I started buying 80 stuff. So I bought the M1, I bought the Stratos, Lancia 037, a Lancia Delta S4, a Mercedes Evo 2, a Porsche 924 Carrera GTS Club Sport.
This, by the way, this is you rattling off like you're like, yeah, so I ran the Playboy Mansion back in the day, and I dated her, and I dated her,
exactly.
and we had a nice trip to Cabo, her and I, and then
I know, man, it was because they weren't. I mean, look, they cost money. They didn't cost the money they cost now because people weren't really paying attention to it. And I remember thinking to myself, holy shit, these are an 037. They made 200 of these cars, and yet it's a third or eighth of the price of some Ferrari, of which they made a shitload.
Right.
And also the thing about Group B for me was, it was romantic. Like it was this amazing proximity to motorsport. I mean, I've always been a totally shit driver, but I could drive something that was vaguely similar to what people rallied in. And to me, that was an incredibly romantic idea. I loved that. So I got really into homologation. So that's why the Evo 2, the Porsche, all this stuff.
Have you ever spectated like a rally in Europe?
No, but I remember watching them as a kid on TV. So there was that kind of seed that was in my head somewhere.
I have a background with a lot of rally experience.
Yeah.
I would actually recommend you take a trip to Rally Legends in San Marino.
Oh, I've heard about that.
Because they run things like 037s and Stratos. And
Right.
You know.
But you know what? I know if I went there, I'd be just sad. I'd be sad, like, oh shit, I wish I owned those cars again.
Probably, yeah. It's like seeing like an ex who's like looking real good.
Yeah, I know,
like,
exactly. You're like, fuck, I shouldn't have messed that up. Totally, it's exactly like that. Like when you want to see an ex, you want your ex to be super obese with terrible acne.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, like miserable.
Yeah, like,
yeah,
she went after me, it all went downhill. But instead, she's much more beautiful,
right.
and she's married someone who's way more successful.
You're the one who's like downhill. Oh man,
I'm the miserable bastard.
So you got turned on by the M1, and this was like 2010-ish.
I think 2010,
Okay.
2011. So then I started buying all the Group B stuff, all the homologation stuff, because I like the idea that these cars have been designed specifically for a purpose. They weren't designed for posing; they were for a function, and that was like the Stratos has these big door pockets you can put the helmets in.
Right.
The 037, the dash, it was neoprene.
Of course, yeah, of course. By the way, on the Stratos, the mechanism for the windows, which is like the little turn. It's like the little dial.
It's a little plastic knob that you turn that just clamps the window open or closed.
Right, insanity. It's the flimsiest, flammiest
Yeah, but the whole Stratos is made. It's like driving around in like a chip bag.
So
I got the Stratos. The Stratos I got, and then so I took that on the Copper State rally. So we drove that 3,000 miles across the desert, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, you guys are crazy!" But it was really fun. It was super reliable. I mean, at one point I had all the Dino engine cars. I had the Stratos, I had the 246 Dino, I had the Fiat Dino Spider, which had a Dino engine in it.
Oh wow.
And then I had a 308 GT4 Dino, but which did not have the Dino engine in it. But I had all these.
I wonder how many people can claim that they had all the Dino engine cars.
I know, it was like a weird.
That's a really weird flex.
I just. And let me tell you, it opens a lot of doors.
Obviously.
I mean, the Peterson
now.
Museum.
Look
where I am now. That's right. In a windowless studio in New York City. So yeah, then I had all the Group B homologation stuff. I mean, I will say the Mercedes Evo 2 looked amazing, but was such a disappointment to drive. Like it was just because it's crazy looking. Like it has this massive wing.
It's the one that like most. It's funny because I think the Group B stuff. A lot of people like look at it and like, oh, that's cool, but like they don't really they don't put it on the wall. Me personally, Delta S4, like I'm going to literally stab everyone in this like building.
I mean, it's funny because when I bought the Delta S4, it was for sale in Japan, and I remember a friend of mine had looked at it a year ago, and then someone had said, oh, there's something wrong with it, and he'd bailed on it. But then I was looking at it, and it was cheap-ish. And then I had like a connection to a connection to a connection who looked at it in Japan, said there's nothing wrong with the car. The dealer who's selling it is super reliable. The dealer kind of serviced it, and then they sent it over. And I fitted it with a Group B exhaust, and it was like driving around in Satan's anus.
Wait, why?
Because it was just so like furious. It was the Group B. Every car I ever get, I try and keep them stock, but I always try and put like an exhaust on it because that to me
pepper it up a little bit.
Well, because that's like half the fun is just how it sounds, So it just sounded amazing. It sounded like it was like being inside a chainsaw. It was so, and it had the nicest interior of any car I've ever owned. It was exquisite. It was a sort of orgy of Alcantara.
Right, because like they really went above and beyond on the interior. Although I would say I saw Stratos 2 weeks ago for a photo shoot.
Yeah.
And the interior in that was also like really, it was like beautiful, like blue velour.
Yeah, no, it is. It's cool, but like the design of the seats on the Delta S4, like the headrest and the way everything's sort of ribbed for your pleasure. The ceiling, the door cut, everything's ribbed. It's one of those cars. Like the thing that was cool about all the 80s stuff is it's sort of there's a French phrase called joli laid, which means ugly beautiful. And a lot of the 80s stuff is kind of ugly beautiful, like the Delta S4.
That's how I'm described. So,
With an emphasis on beautiful, of course.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, of course. But the S4 was designed by an architect. It was the only car, and it's almost like he just got a ruler out and refused to do anything with a curve.
But it is ugly beautiful.
Yeah.
It's if you're into that kind of like functional like beauty, it's kind of the best.
Yeah, it's amazing. But then a year or two ago, I started one of the things about me, and it's sort of part of the disorder being a contrarian, is the moment I see things around a lot, then I start thinking, oh, I don't want to have this thing anymore. It's like this,
so you're the guy that's like, I knew about that band 5 years ago.
I saw you two in a pub.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I'm that dick who's all, yeah, that's great, but I saw exactly.
Yeah, I'm not into that anymore, but it's cool if you are.
Yeah. Exactly. So the moment so Group B became this, and it's not that I love it less, but there's something about that I always want to just find like a new, obscure, weird thing or unloved thing. So I sold all my Group B stuff, and I thought, and then I was kind of went through this sort of depression. Like I was like, who am I anymore without these Group B cars? I'm no one.
So what did you sell off?
I sold the 037, the Delta S4. Oh, I had a Peugeot T16. I sold that. I sold the Stratos earlier on. That was really depressing to sell that.
Wait, why'd you sell it though?
I don't know. I can't remember why.
You just woke up one day.
Oh, you know why? Because I had the S4 and I had the 037. I was like, okay, I don't have unlimited funds. So you have to sort of balance. Like, I have a small space and a small pot of money, which is sort of, you sort of churn and you buy something, you have to replace it with something else, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I sold the Stratos to a guy who was a dealer. And then he put it up for auction. And then for the next 3 months, people were like, hey, is this your car coming up at Bonham's? Hey, is this your car coming up at Bonham's?
That's just annoying. And I
was so fucking depressed about it. And then when the car went up for auction, it sold for exactly what he paid me for. And I was so happy because I was like, oh my God, you sold it so cheap. You sold it so... And I was so ecstatic because I was thinking, I'm going to feel like such a buffoon.
Right.
He's going to sell for,
he gets like double.
Yeah, exactly. So that made me, marginally less depressed. So I sold all the Group B stuff, and then all I had was the Lancia Delta Integrale, and then the M1. That was I would walk into my garage, and it was like this big echoey chamber of depression in there. So I wouldn't go in there very often because I was so sad about it all. And I was like, that's it, I'm done with cars. And then gradually, the virus kind of seized me again. I mean, it wasn't that I was done. I was just kind of, I guess the thing was that I have been so lucky to experience all these dream cars of my youth.
Right.
And I was trying to figure out what's interesting to me now and what's affordable to me now, because everything is so...
Right, prices go up.
Yeah, everything's gone up, and some of the things that I've always loved would, I just couldn't buy them. So then I bought, over the last year and a half, then I started buying things again. So I bought the Ford Escort RS Cosworth.
Great car.
Then I bought the Maserati Shamal, which I love.
Interesting choice.
But that's the thing. Like, that to me is a perfect example of a bastardo choice. Like, here's a car that's been obscured by mythology of bullshit of the Maserati in the 80s, bi-turbo, it's rubbish, all this kind of stuff.
I think most people would not take a chance on an 80s Maserati.
That's right. But it's a totally different car. It's a twin-turbo V8 with a Gandini design, of which they made 379. And I can honestly say it is one of the most delightful cars I've ever driven. Ever. Which is totally shocking. It's not a super pointy car, but it's so fast and so smooth and so comfortable. It's a GT. I never really owned a GT other than the Lancia at Flaminia. But it's just a joy. Like, you get in it and it sounds amazing. It looks super cool.
I mean, the box flares on that.
Yeah,
you are officially otherwise known as the Baron of box flares.
That's right. And if you think it looks crazy in pictures, when you see it in person, you're like, holy shit! Like, Gandini was drinking some mushroom tea.
But was there like a normal narrow body version of it ever?
There was a Maserati, there was a Ghibli, and there were a bunch of kind of narrow, thinner bodied versions of that car that were sixes, V6.
Right.
But this was the only one that was which was all like the Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Right, you get
body
the big
package.
motor, you get the big beefy fenders.
But it was also like a 6-speed Getrag box, adjustable suspension, electronic suspension. Like, it had all this cool stuff that actually works.
Worked or still works?
No, it still works. Still
works?
Yeah, still works. Yeah. Although I was driving back from the mechanic and I put on the heating, and then at some point I was like, wow, that's weird. The windscreen is kind of foggy. And then I look down, I see all this smoke pluming in from the vents.
Oh, wow.
So because the one thing for those cars that's notorious, the engines are solid, all the stuff's solid, but the one thing that's totally shit is the climate control stuff. So the heater core was had gone kaput. So that's, you always have to deal with that. But I feel like all 80s Italian cars have dodgy electronics.
I mean, at a minimum.
Yeah, if you're lucky. So then I got the Shamal. Then I bought the XJ220.
Okay,
Jaguar.
so you're one of the people that bought a Jag XJ220.
Yeah, because funnily enough, years ago, I had been deciding between an 037 and a 220, and I went down to Florida to look at a 220, and I was just so overwhelmed by. I think it's one of the most extraordinary designs of the 90s. Like to me, it's an amazing
Styling-wise.
Yeah, styling-wise, it's just an unbelievable looking thing, but it's big.
It's a very long, wide car.
Yeah, it's a long, wide car, and then so I wanted to buy it, but then I thought, how do I get parts for it? And I called up this guy Don Law in England. Don was like, send me the car, and I thought, I can't buy a car that I have to send somewhere to get it fixed.
Right,
another country.
You're not a chic.
Yeah,
you can't just fly your car around the world for servicing.
So I got the 037, which was a good choice at the time. But then I kept coming back to the 220. So I bought the 220. I found one in blue.
Is that your preferred color choice?
Yeah.
Because there was like a green.
There was a green, a burgundy.
The burgundy's kind of nice.
And then a silver.
Oh, I think they mostly all had like that gray Ford Escort colored interior.
Well, you know what? People always go, it's got a Ford interior. But I challenge you to name any supercar from the 90s has a good interior. None of them do. None of them. EB110 is totally shit.
It's all leather.
Yeah,
it's quilted leather floor mats.
Yeah, but it's all leather in the bloody 220. It's actually very comfortable and it's very nice, but it's got Ford switchgear. But like the M1, all like BMW parts bin parts.
Right.
You know, like, or even like they're just, the thing is that people get snobby about it because it's Ford. Like if it was parts bin bits from say Alpha, no one would care.
Right, they'd be, ooh, elegant.
Yeah, exactly. But for the last 10 months, the car's been in restoration, and the whole time I have been, because all the 220s basically, here's another car that's surrounded by this shroud of mythology, like, it should have been a V12.
Well, but for you though, where does that motor come from?
Well, it's a Group C race car derived engine.
Right, exactly. So it's still back to rally.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's a real race car engine. I mean, it's an incredible engine. And the other thing is that the 12-cylinder made the car way too heavy, and they couldn't get the whole idea of that car was to be above 200 miles an hour, and they couldn't get there with a 12-cylinder engine. So there are reasons for that, but. Anyway, so here's a car obscured by mythology, and most of them have never run because they just sit in people's garages for decades. Mm-hmm. So same with mine, sat somewhere for decades. So you have to go through the whole thing. So for the last 10 months, I have been just gradually increasing the terror level of my experience with this car. Like, it's going to be too big. I'm going to hate driving it. I'm going to, if there's anything else on the road at all, I'm going to run it off the road because the car's like twice the size of 2 Hummers.
But it's also very low.
It's very low too. So all these things. So I had just convinced myself to be utterly terrified of it. I'm going to have to bring 3 pairs of trousers when I was driving, all of it.
Right, all the cleaning equipment.
Yeah.
all my detailing kit for the interior.
Yeah. So finally the car's ready. I go up there, and I am legitimately shitting myself. I mean, I'm really nervous that, especially when you spend that much money, that you don't want to spend that much money in a car and then think, oh, well, I guess I have to sell it now because I hate driving, because I want to drive everything I own. So I get in it, and I'm just driving around town with the mechanic, just as he's sort of giving me some pointers. And I swear within like 10 minutes, I'm thinking, hang on, this is so easy.
Ooh, I like that early overconfidence.
Yeah, but
usually ends well.
Yeah, I could, I'll get the turbos going on a corner. It should be fine. So,
listen, just keep your foot in it.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do.
That's all you got to do. But it was amazing, though, because it was like, once you're in it, first of all, it's super comfortable. Well, there's 2 things. It's a massive car, and then when you get in it, you think, where did all the space go? Hang on a minute. I'm like in a medieval cell here. But it's really comfortable. The shifter is really nice. The driving position is really nice. Visibility is pretty good.
The sun visor is laughably small.
Yeah, the sun visor is useless, but also because of the rake of the windscreen, you get a lot of glare, which also is good because then you don't see what's in front of you. So
can't be scared.
Yeah, you can't be scared.
If you can't see it, you can't be scared of it.
That's right. But it was amazing. Like once you're in it, you don't feel the size of the car at all. And it's not like it just. I was totally shocked and so fucking happy about it.
Right.
Because and weirdly enough, it's kind of like, and this may be sacrilegious. It's kind of like driving the Cosworth.
Oh, a Ford.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, in the sense that it's very old. It's this kind of. it's the velvet fist. Like, it looks beautiful, and it's not low. It's not too low. Like, you can go over speed bumps, all of it. Like, all of the things I was afraid of, I was wrong about, which was amazing. But it's like the Cosworth in the sense that it's kind of binary. When the turbo kicks in, it's just like Thor's hammer squashing your balls.
There's no subtlety to it at all.
No, it's so fast. Your brain can't quite come to grips with like this new reconfiguration of space and time.
What tires are on the Jag?
New-ish tires. Yeah, because when I test drove it in January on 20-year-old tires. It was like 18 degrees weather.
So this is where we do the intervention and we talk about your death wish.
I was very sad when I test drove it. And I was with this guy, Tom Hale, who sold me the car, who's really fantastic. And we were driving it. And I said, look, there's a Burger King. We should do the drive-through. And so we did in the 220.
But wait, what'd you order?
We ordered some fries because there's no space.
So you didn't even get like a Whopper?
No, we just ordered some fries.
Just like one thing of fries for like the cup holder?
That's all you can fit.
Is there a cup holder?
No, there's no cup holder. And the trunk's amazing. Like, you open up the trunk, and basically you can put like 3 photocopies in there.
In the back?
Yeah. You could put a sandwich, like a ham sandwich.
But there's also a frunk?
No, that's all full of stuff.
Like just
things,
cooling,
like car stuff. Yeah,
car
like fan stuff. I don't know.
stuff.
Yeah, car bits. It's got car bits in the front. So that was the great joy, and I just couldn't get enough of driving it. I've been driving it as much as I can because it's so nice to be surprised by something you're utterly terrified by. And I was totally wrong about it.
It's nice to meet your heroes and then have them not be complete dicks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and it's just also the thing is, I guess that the thing for me now is I'm thinking, what are things I never really owned other than the 60s stuff. I went through this long period of owning like stuff that was kind of ugly beautiful, and I've never owned something like that, like that's incredible to look at.
Right. Just
peerlessly
elegant.
Yeah, there's just this kind of beautiful spaceship. So then I got that. Then I got Mitsubishi Pajero Evolution.
Finally, the smartest thing I've heard you say.
All day.
This is all day. The smartest thing I've heard you say.
Yeah. So that thing to me, for those of you who don't know, so it's basically the Lancia Delta of the desert.
Yes.
So it's the most successful Paris-Dakar rally car ever fielded. And it's...
Over here we called it Montero.
Yes, because Pajero means wanker in Spanish.
Right.
FYI, WNKR is available as a license plate. so that may be happening. So I got one of those, and I think that's the bargain of the century, those cars. They're super cool. There's so much technology in them, and it's kind of just this crazy-looking car, all super flared out with these weird, like, bat wings.
It looks like a Gundam toy, sort of.
Yeah, it does. It is. It's exactly that. It's like a...
I'm actually very mad you got one of these because you're going to drive up the price on them. And I'm going to be sitting there looking for one and be like, oh, man.
Well, get one right now, man.
I don't have any space.
You know what? You're not really a car person.
Wow.
You heard me.
Wow, okay.
You want to go, bro? Let's go, bro. You know what I mean? Like, you can always...
I could,
you call up your mom and you go, listen, can I just park this,
Right, you mind if I leave this in your driveway?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, you see?
Yeah, totally.
Or you don't even tell her. She just wakes up like, that's weird.
Why is there an old Japanese two-door SUV in my driveway?
Exactly.
What's with all these stupid stickers?
I'm blocked in.
Right.
Live with it, Mom.
Blame it on my sister.
Yeah.
So the Pajero's here, stateside now.
So I drove it back from the port. They're all right-hand drive, so I was like, busy trying to like change the gear by winding down the window the entire time.
But you grew up in the UK.
Yeah, but I didn't really drive that much there. I left when I was 18. I didn't really have... all my driving has really happened here and in Europe.
That's tough.
So it's tough.
That's tough. I feel
the world's smallest violin. I can hear it. I can.
Yeah, I'm trying to rub it near the microphone.
The micro violin. So that happened, and then finally, the last piece of this kind of crazy like Group B cash spending spree has now emptied out my bank account. The De Tomaso Guara.
Oh my God. So it's a De Tomaso.
Yeah.
Which, obscure as it is, I think people know it best for the Pantera.
And the Mangusta.
And the Mangusta, which you hated. You thought was like the worst car ever.
But a beautiful design. That was an amazing piece of design. So De Tomaso, actually, I guess that I own 2 De Tomaso cars because the Shamal was the last car he produced when he owned Maserati.
Interesting.
And it was the last car of the 80s. And then I guess he must have...
Your Shamal's in 89, right?
Yeah, 90, but it was released December 16th, 89. So it was the last car to be released in the 80s.
Got
but
it.
mine's like a 91. So I guess he went from Maserati to starting his own car company again. So the Guara is really interesting. It's like if you ever Ital design, the Aztec, like those kind of concept cars from the 80s. It's kind of like a concept car from the 80s, but it's really, and when I saw it in pictures, like, oh, I'm not sure. And then I saw it in person and I thought, shit, this is amazingly cool.
So, okay, so I don't think a lot of people know about the Guara.
No one knows about it.
Like, I don't think they're like the what?
Yeah.
Like Guarana?
So,
like the thing in energy drinks?
So he made about 50 of them, coupes, barchettas. And what's interesting is so carbon Kevlar.
Wait, hold on. Barchetta is
a full open top, not a convertible.
Not a convertible.
No, just a convertible without the.
It's a fancy way in Italian of saying, yeah, I'm saving money by not putting a roof on it.
That's right. Yeah, it will never rain. Yeah. So they made about 50, but the thing is, normally the Tomaso cars are kind of poorly made. Like they often, I know it's a shocking.
What?
I know.
Small volume manufacturer with bad build quality, especially with Italian roots.
I mean, it's amazing but he's following his usual thing of amazing design, but then an interesting motor. But this car is incredibly designed because it was some, I think Williams or some people from Williams designed the chassis. So it's got inboard double wishbone suspension.
Ridiculously fancy.
Carbon Kevlar body. And then they made 18 that had a BMW V8 and then a Getrag gearbox.
Wait, is the bodywork carbon Kevlar or is it like the actual tub?
The bodywork.
Okay, so like the panels and whatnot.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it hinges they hinge open like Group B cars used to hinge open. So so it's got this kind of race car chassis and drivetrain and a BMW drivetrain.
So it should be.
So it should work.
I mean, here's the thing. It's going to run fast, but the turn signals won't work.
Yeah, it's just this amazing, when you look at it, like in pictures, it seems, but then you see it in person, first of all, it's really wide.
So I've looked at photos of this thing.
Yeah.
And I was trying to figure out what it reminded me of. And the way the rear glass kind of hits.
Right.
Dodge Stealth.
Get out.
It's not a bad thing.
Get out.
What
I would go for is Carrera GT.
Okay, a little bit of that too.
The Carrera GT and, weirdly enough, the Ferrari 250 LM, they have that weird kind of chopped rear greenhouse and then that sort of flat deck.
I like that you went way more upscale.
Yeah, because I would prefer I'm trying to not go the Dodge.
Right, you're trying to bring the values up.
You know what reminds me of? The Dodge Neon.
Right.
The Plymouth Prowler. Similar. You know what? Actually, there was this kind of mushroom tea moment for Chrysler. Or Plymouth, when they were doing all those, remember in the 90s?
Yeah.
The Prowler, when you look at it, it's like a crazy production car.
The fact that it actually made it to production is kind of nuts.
It's bug. When I see one every now and then, I'm like, holy shit, someone really decided to make that. That's how I feel about Pajero Evolution. I feel like those fins, those weird Batman fins on the back,
what's the function of those?
Yeah,
is there a race function for that?
Yeah, or did some crazy Mitsubishi executive go, yeah, let's do this. It's gonna be cool because it's weird looking and it's amazing looking.
I love them.
Yeah,
that's probably my favorite thing you have in your collection.
What?
I know.
Not even the Guara.
Here's the thing. I have to see it. I have to see that in person. I've never seen one in real life.
I mean, that's the thing. When you see
have you driven it yet?
Well, let me just footnote back to the Lancia Stratos. So we take it out. It's in the city. So we take it out on Hudson Street in rush hour traffic.
York.
Yeah, here in New York. We take it out in rush hour traffic, which is always the best place.
That's the best time to test drive a car.
It is. Low production, exotic car.
Yeah, no, that is actually, I prefer that.
So I start driving it, and it starts bucking and stalling, and I'm thinking, okay, this is a bit weird.
Because you don't know how to drive stick?
Yeah, I've never driven stick before.
Well, but why is it doing that?
I don't know. It's just so Tom's in the car, so I say to Tom, okay, maybe you should drive it. So I say, I think the clutch is going. Because there's this terrible burning smell.
And as the used car sales guy, he's like, no.
Tom's not like that. He thinks, yeah, something terrible's happening. So we make it. We squeeze back home back to the garage. We get in there. There's all this smoke kind of pouring out from like the left rear fender. And I say to him, I'll take it, because that's my special move.
Right, because you're going to get a deal if you offer to take it while it's smoking.
Yeah, that's right. So as it turns out, like the brake, the handbrake uses the rear like brake caliper. It doesn't have a separate what's-its. So that had been frozen.
Oh.
So it wasn't a big deal, but so they fixed it, it's fine. Yes, that car, although it's red, it's actually the factory car. So it has 500 miles on it.
Oh, it's like the demo show car kind of thing.
Which I hate. I hate low mileage cars. They're just miserable.
Well, you got to fix that.
Yeah, you have to go through every single thing. And
No, I mean, you got to put more miles on it.
Well, for sure. But you also have to fix everything, because every little bit of rubber has to be looked at, all the
Right.
bushes, whatever it is. I don't know what the bushes are. George Bush is who's in there. He has to be fixed.
God.
The Bush family.
The whole Bush family.
Lauren Bush, she's in there. That guy who made the sex joke with Trump, he's in there. You got to fix him. So it's red, and I really hate red cars. I try not to buy red cars unless, like with the 037, they are. So I'm just showering you with COVID spit.
Oh, it's fine.
Yeah, you were hoping.
I was hoping.
You were
yeah,
hoping to get Omnicrom.
Yeah, thanks.
This podcast now with Omnicrom.
Sponsored by.
Right, Omnicrom. So I'm going to change the color.
Okay, so you bought a one of roughly 50.
One of 50, one of 18 with the because they had 18 with the BMW engine, and then they went to a Ford crate engine.
Okay, but you got the BMW.
Yeah, got the BMW.
So one of 18, which is one of 50.
Yeah.
And less than 1,000 miles.
Yeah. What could go wrong?
So from a collectability standpoint, relatively rare if people
Super
knew
rare.
what it was.
Yeah, if people had any idea what it was, it's very
Right.
rare. And it's definitely like, but to me, that's I guess the 220 and the Guara are both sort of scratch this itch. The 220s, I've always loved all those incredible sort of concept cars of the 70s and 80s. I wish, like, you know how people do all these, I wish someone would like recreate the Citroën Carène or the Alfa Romeo, was it the Boomerang or you know, all these amazing Caribou, these incredible, like, I've always lusted after one of those. So that to me is the Guara is the closest I can get to sort of buying a functional driving concept car.
So are either of these two acquisitions forever cars? Do you even have a forever? I mean, the M1.
The M1 has been a forever car so far. It's hard to say, because I really feel like, for me, the whole collecting thing has really been about experiences, right? So I had and if you can, it's not a question of money. It's just a question of curiosity. Like I feel, for me, that I've always tried to and experience as many different things from an automotive point as I can. So there was the sort of 60s stuff that was all kind of beautiful. Then there was the Group B homologation stuff, which was amazing to drive and sort of from a historical perspective, amazing. And now there's this kind of, I guess there's this aesthetic thing. Like the 220 is amazing to drive also, but it's aesthetically, like, I've never owned anything like it. And it's the same for the Guara. I've never owned anything so sort of outlandish looking and interesting looking to me.
Right. They're very over the top in terms of design.
Yeah, and I like that. I've never owned things like that, really. They've always, I mean, it's great to experience that. And I've never owned an SUV-ish vehicle. So that's why the Pajero makes sense to me. And also I like the fact that, I mean, to me, the Paris-Dakar thing is amazing history.
Right, that's a good connection.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's cool when you get in it. Like, it's all Recaro seats, and then all the vents and stuff have faux carbon fiber print on them.
Delightful.
Yeah, delightful indeed.
That's class.
That's right. But that's factory. I looked it up. I thought, this is weird. Like, really, like, fake carbon fiber?
Right, like some kid had it and like just like put like fake
I thought it was a
vents on
wrap or something. Some weird wrap, but it's real. It's from the factory.
Nice. Okay. So the Guara shows up when?
The Guara will be, well...
I butcher I don't do accent.
Come on. Guara. See?
I can't say it like that every time.
Guara. Yeah, you can. I believe in you, man.
Thank you. If only I believed in myself.
You're touched.
I'm touched. I am physically touched.
So the Guara is going to be a while, because that's going to have to be... they'll have to be restored. You know, they'll have to go through it. Then I'm going to change the color.
Do you have a color picked out?
I think I do. I'm not going to say, because I'm not sure yet.
You don't want to commit to it on air?
No. No, I mean, well, I'm not going to paint it. I'll do Autoflex, which is what I did on the Lancia.
Okay. It's like plasti dip.
It's like a new generation of plastic, which is amazing. I mean, it's genius. So there's a place in Queens that does it.
Are you saying that perhaps they should sponsor this podcast?
Oh, you know what? You're right.
Oh, we should get on that.
I should ask him. That's a genius idea, actually. He's very monosyllabic when I text him, though, so I'm not sure. But he seemed uninterested when I was like, I could talk about you on my Instagram feed. I've got 30,000 followers. And he said, okay.
He's like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So Autoflex is spray on, peel off. But it looks exactly like paint. It's amazing.
I was going to say, because I did not know that the Lancia was actually...
Yeah, well, they mix it. So they mix the colors and everything.
So it's like straight up like a spray gun.
Yeah.
Everything's like taped off.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's much cheaper. And it doesn't look like a wrap. It's amazing.
Do you do the door jams?
You know what I love is when people spell jams, Jams. Like pump up the jam.
Oh, yeah, no.
Door pump up the jams.
Pump up your door jams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's J-A-B.
Wait, J-A-M-B.
Yeah, J-A-M-B rather. Yeah. Yeah. Pump up the door. Yeah.
Actually, and if you put an S on it, it could be a Wordle solve.
I don't know. I don't actually know what Wordle is. I've seen people talk about it in WhatsApp.
Oh, man, Wordle is hard. It's hard. I'm bad at it.
Thank you for that keen. It's hard, bro.
It's hard, bro. Life is hard.
So it's, yeah, they can do the door jams, but they didn't on the Lancia because I was a cheap bastard, but I would do the whole thing on the Guara.
You'd have to.
Yeah.
But
I'm really excited about it just because it's so, I don't know, like it's just.
How does your wife feel about the Guara?
Oh, she likes it.
Does she like it more than the Jaguar?
She likes it. I'll tell you this, she will not like driving inside the Jaguar.
She hasn't been inside of it yet?
No. You know what? I'm just going to leave that comment.
Okay.
I'm just going to leave that alone. She has not been inside of it yet. You know why? Because you know what the funny thing about the Jag is when you're driving it, it's not hard to drive, but it's brutal. Like it's really loud. The turbo is super hardcore. You don't wrestle it, but it's just like it's really like a race car experience to me. Much more so in some ways than a lot of the other stuff that I've had. Even more so than the Group B stuff.
Interesting.
Which is weird. It feels much more unrefined in the best possible way. I guess you know why? Because it has so much more power.
Okay.
Like the 037 or all that stuff was all like
you would think
250.
That'd be like a grittier, kind of raw experience though, because it's like a homologation. So it's like they're doing the bare minimum to pass it.
No, but I think the difference is the power. Okay. Like if the Jag had 300 or 400 horsepower, it would feel much less brutal in the way. But because it has 550 or whatever it is, you feel like, okay, this is a serious thing.
Right. So she's not going to like that.
No, she won't. The only car she really likes is the M1 because it's not super loud and there's a trunk and all the rest of it.
Yeah, it's a very sophisticated looking automobile.
I mean, we went for a weekend we used to go for weekends in the Dino. She liked that, the 246. Although it started raining once and the whole car fogged up and I had to like park underneath an overpass to wait for the rain so I could see out because I was sort of like polishing the windscreen with a snotty hanky.
Ah, yes, the romance of a vintage car.
That's right, exactly. And then when we went for a weekend once in the Iso Grifo, I turned into a psychopath because she bought some flowers or something and put them on the back seat, and she was getting water on the back seat. I was like, "What are you doing? The leather's going to destroy itself." And I went all crazy. So there was that.
So it's a happy marriage.
Yeah. She's actually very cool about all the cars and watches. She doesn't.
Well,
she's very cool. Actually, she doesn't really care.
But okay, so you guys live here in the city.
Yeah, we live here in the city.
Does she drive?
No.
Like, does she have a license? Because, like, I know plenty of women here that don't have licenses.
Carla's skill is that she will unerringly drive towards a stationary object.
Oh, okay.
She told me when she was getting her license, she was in a big open parking lot, and there's this parking lot attendant's booth. Mm-hmm. So she drove into that.
How?
I don't know. Like, she just drove into it.
Like, did anyone teach her, like, hey, if you stare at something, you're going to...
It was like a target acquisition thing. So she just drove into it. So she's never... And she just can't be bothered. I mean, Uber is good.
Raytheon's going to study her driving techniques.
Right. That's right. The Pentagon is very interested in her brain.
Right, exactly.
That's right.
Do you have a daily kind of, whip for getting around town that isn't brutal?
Well, for a long time, it was a Subaru WRX, which Carla hated.
I don't blame her. It's a very juvenile...
No, it was.
It's a fun car. No, they're very fun cars.
I loved it.
They're they're a hoot.
Yeah.
But for you know,
a younger gentleman. Well, that was the thing. Like, I'd pull up at lights, and some young kid would pull up next to me. Like,
Right.
think, hang on, what's this old white-haired, crusty old geezer doing driving it?
right. Especially here, it's always like somebody in like an Altima,
Yeah.
trying to like just
Just revving.
Yeah.
So she and of course I would treat sort of every stoplight like it was, Le Mans.
Of course.
And she'd be banging her head on the glass. So we sold that. I traded it for in 05, I think, for no, in 06, I traded for an 05 Subaru Outback.
Oh.
And we had that for 15 years.
Oh my god.
I know. And every time we get in
15 years?
Yeah, every time we get in it, the wife and child would say, "Oh, it stinks in here. It smells weird. Why can't it's so uncomfortable?" And I'd always say, "What are you talking about? This is a great car." Yeah. So eventually, last year, I sold it and I leased an Audi Allroad.
Okay,
Wagon.
now that's second most intelligent thing I've heard you say.
Right on the Pajero. It's a low bar in terms of intelligence.
Well, I mean, the Pajero is really still number one.
Yeah,
but
it is. It's practical. So we got that, and that's been fun, although I'm plagued with all sorts of electronic. There's always like some electronic warning, like the driver's side, the passenger side airbag not working, the indicator not working, all this shit. That's just, and then you just turn off the car, turn it on again, it's fine.
Right.
But I'm kind of disappointed because I thought, okay, this is a new car. I've never owned a new car before in my entire life.
Yeah, they've really you missed like the more simplistic new cars, and now you're into we just jammed too much shit into one box.
But it's great. Like, I love all the stuff. It has.
Do you have massaging seats?
No, but it has ventilator seats, which are weird because it makes you feel like you've shit yourself.
I was gonna say wet yourself, but yeah.
It could be a loose stool. It could be a loose stool. You could have had a spicy vindaloo previously to getting in the car. So yeah, there's this unsettling feeling that you've soiled yourself in some way, but it's very comfortable.
I love heated seats, ventilated seats.
I love that.
Heated steering wheel.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Here's a tip though: you don't want to sit on a heated seat for say half an hour after you've had a spicy vindaloo curry when you're driving to give a lecture.
I wouldn't have a spicy vindaloo curry before giving a lecture in the first place.
So I drove.
I'd have like bread.
I drove to the lecture, and then there was this weird, like, unsettled. There was some activity. I felt like there was activity on the seismometer.
Mm-hmm.
The needle was wavering.
Your spidey senses were tingling.
Yeah. So I get up there on stage and I say to everyone, "Listen, just so you know, I've had a super spicy vindaloo curry and I sat on a heated car seat for half an hour, so I may have to leave the stage precipitously." And then, like 10 or 15 minutes into it, I said, "You know what I said earlier? I'll be right back." And I had to go, and I came back, and I got like a standing ovation.
That's really.
It's a good way to warm up a crowd.
It really is. It's a good icebreaker.
It is. Shit your pants.
I would have
on
been
stage.
like, "Guys, listen, I'm expecting an important call during this presentation. I apologize. I can't reschedule it. If it rings, I have to go."
Didn't Giuliani used to do that? Like he'd always take.
No, Trump used to like.
No,
take
Giuliani
phone
would
calls.
always take phone calls. I think was it Trump or Giuliani would always take the phone. I think it was Giuliani would always take phone calls in the middle of a speech or something.
I mean,
it's a technique.
It's a technique.
People are interested.
That's right. Oh, he must be important. He's getting a phone call.
That's right. Look, his phone's ringing.
2:30 in the afternoon. His phone is ringing.
It's crazy.
Who could he be? Well, so we've gotten through your vehicles and your vehicle history.
Yeah.
Your vehicle history report. But you didn't get into watches until your pusher friend, Ben,
That's right.
Got you onto watches, which is probably a worse disease.
Well, the problem with watches is they're smaller and they're way cheaper.
Are they though?
Well, when you start out.
Sure, like when you first get into it.
Yeah, when you first get into it. Like,
I got the Snoopy swatch.
Yeah, exactly. So this is $800. I could buy 7 of these.
Right.
And I could put them in a closet. And the wife won't know, though she doesn't care.
You hide them in your sock drawer.
Yeah. So I guess with the watches, it's similar. The thing that's interesting in some ways more about watches than cars is there are so many more obscure areas to root around it.
Right. Well, it's a lot easier to manufacture a whole watch versus a whole car.
So I went through a lot of different sort of brands before ending up where I am now.
What was the first watch you got? I mean, you probably had like something you wore like, in the early aughts, but when you got into what's actually no.
The first watch I have, I still have the first watch
The first watch you ever had?
Yeah. It was a Timex LCD digital watch. You press the button and on the display, the time comes up.
That's
and
pretty cool.
It's about an inch thick.
Does it still work?
I don't know. I guess it needs a new battery.
Oh my God.
I've changed the battery since
it
76.
It doesn't see a lot of use.
No, I should wear it. I should take it and see if it works. That would be amazing. So the first watch then I bought was a Breitling Navitimer from the 50s or 60s that was super polished. If you're into watches, basically polishing a watch is the last thing you want it because it sort of turns it into like a smooth river pebble, and you want like an original formed watch. So
And what year did you get this?
2015.
Okay, so you literally just had the old Timex, then no watches.
No, I had a. You know what? Then the next watch I bought was I bought an Omega Speedmaster in the mid '90s.
Great choice.
New with my first paycheck when I was an art director. Because I was really into space travel and I loved the fact this is a moon watch and I didn't see anyone wearing them and I thought it was super cool. So I bought that for like $900 at the 47th Street Jewelry Exchange.
Did it feel good?
Yeah, it was amazing. I loved it. It was so cool. And no one knew what it was, which was amazing.
There's something about going and buying like a brand new, very nice watch at the store.
Yeah, I've never done it since, but...
but like you do...
It was amazing.
It's worth doing at least once.
For sure. Yeah, I loved it. And I wore it every day, and I loved how it looked and all that stuff. And then the other watch I bought in 2015, when I started getting into it, which it's the only watch I still have.
So the Speedmaster took you from the mid-90s, the 9/11 days,
2015.
to 2015.
That's right.
That's actually good.
Just one watch. That was it.
And, okay, so you had that, you had the Timex.
Then I bought a Seiko Giugiaro. So
Seiko Giugiaro.
Well, Giugiaro, the car designer who designed the M1, the DeLorean, all this stuff, the Mangusta, he designed a watch for Seiko that was worn by Ripley in Aliens.
Weird.
It's super cool looking. It was a chronograph, and it's super spacey looking, and it's amazing. So I loved it because I loved the idea. I love Aliens, Ridley Scott, but more importantly, I love Giugiaro. So I bought that watch. That's the only watch I have from 2015 that still remains.
So you kept the space theme, though.
Yeah, totally. I've always been a space nut. That's why I have a spacesuit.
We'll get to
Wait.
We'll get to the spacesuit in a minute.
Right. So then, I just sort of went through a whole bunch of different brands. I had sort of a military phase. I had a Breitling phase. Breitling from the 60s and the 50s is amazing. I had a Lamania phase. And then I kind of ended up in this sort of weird... So this is peak Bastardo. Patek Philippe from the 1970s. No one's really interested in that stuff. It's
Which is funny because people are very hot on that brand right now.
They are hot on the brand right now, but the brand right now is pure snorology. See how I did the sandwich?
I did. I like that.
It's crafty. It's linguistic acrobatics. I'm like the Fred Astaire of words, man.
You are a cunning linguist.
That's right. So it is. So yeah, people love, but they're very boring now. They're doing nothing of any interest. But in the 70s, they were incredibly audacious, much more so than, say, Rolex or other people. So they were doing amazing stuff. And from a design standpoint, I really love what they've done. And also, I think that the thing with Instagram is it trains you. Right? So it trains you to like things. So when you see every day on your Instagram feed, you see a Rolex Daytona, a Rolex Sub, a Rolex GMT, you like that. And your brain conforms around that design aesthetic. Steel Sports Rolex, that shape. So when you see a watch from the 70s, the shape is so alien that your initial reaction, and most people's initial reaction is, that's weird.
Yeah, no, totally.
I'm not interested.
Yep.
But once you start looking at it further and you allow your brain to kind of configure around a totally different design aesthetic, you begin to see, holy shit, this is very beautiful, the way the integrated bracelet is, the way they've considered the watch as a whole sculptural piece. And you see it for what it is. And then it's amazing.
So one of the watches I saw on your Instagram feed was a Rolex.
Yeah.
But it was literally drawn with like a straight edge ruler. It is the weirdest Rolex I've ever. I mean, I see people like, oh my god, the dial's all faded, or Paul Newman wore this.
That's the Rolex Midas. So that was a watch designed by Gerald Genta, who's kind of like the Giugiaro of the watch world. Like he designed the Nautilus, all that kind of stuff, like all the stuff that people love. But it was designed in '60. He designed it in '64. Rolex made about 800 of those watches, and they were designed. They could only fit like a very small range of wrist size because you couldn't expand, you couldn't add links to the bracelet because they were solid gold, and it was designed to be only worn by like kings and royalty and pop stars.
Right.
They didn't advertise it really. This was who it was for. So I think Elvis had one. John Wayne had one. Who else had one? Jeffrey Dahmer had one.
Oh, well, you're in good company then. You're in very good company.
Yeah. Carrot Top had one.
Oh, pre-steroids? I'm sorry. Allegedly.
That's amazing.
That's
he's
before,
amazing.
I'm sorry, before he just started working out, eating healthy.
That's right. He's just eating healthy, man. He's just healthy eating.
I'm not going to be safe in Vegas.
A lot of leafy greens.
Yeah,
microgreens.
Microgreens.
Yeah.
That'll
do it for you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh boy.
And it's a sculptural. That's a good example. You look at that thing, and it's a sculptural piece.
It is.
Like it's a piece of sculpture. It's not just a watch.
It's one of the few I've seen that I was like, wow, like that's funky, but like in a really original kind of way.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
So, what are you wearing today?
Today, I'm wearing. It's a Blancpain 50 fathoms mil spec with a moisture indicator.
Okay, so.
Everyone needs a moisture indicator.
I mean,
you can tell when athlete's foot is impending.
I'm not taking that bait. But okay, so I barely know this brand.
Yeah,
I'll be honest. I'm not.
I appreciate your candor.
Yeah, listen, I'm honest about it. The only thing I know about this brand is that they have a fancy watch that has an actual like bell, like it's a wristwatch with an actual like bell chime in it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. I didn't know that.
Okay, well, shit. Well, great. I don't know the name. It's like 1836 or something like that.
Oh, okay.
I'm not an expert. I have to Google this now.
Okay.
While we're doing this, because
this is a mid-60s watch produced for it's called a mil spec because it was for the military. The moisture indicator is kind of genius. Like it tells you if there's moisture in the watch, but presumably by then your watch stops working.
I was gonna say it's already under. Like you're already.
You're like, oh, the hands aren't moving. The watch is fucked.
Right.
But then also, but the moisture indicator confirms that it's broken.
Right. It's like the Coors Light can where the mountains get blue when it's cold enough.
Is that right?
Yeah. That's like their big selling point.
Is that like those T-shirts you put your hand on and it leaves the
imprint?
It's
like a hypercolor. Yeah. But it's it's
why don't they make underpants like that?
They probably do.
Like imagine if you were farting a lot, then the back area would be kind of a glowy, angry circle.
You would have to be not wearing pants though.
Well, as an older gentleman.
Right. Well,
that's appealing.
As people on a podcast, are we wearing pants right now?
Who knows?
Who knows? I am, just for the record.
That reminds me of an interview I did once.
Oh God.
I was at a photo festival, and I was being interviewed by a journalist in another country, so I had to get up at like 5 a.m. So I put on a T-shirt. It was a FaceTime thing or whatever it was then. I put on a T-shirt, and then we were talking, and I think I remember dropping something, and I was like, oh, hang on. And I bent over and stood up, and
yeah.
And then it's one of those things where if this. Yeah, I was pantless.
Yeah, you were business casual.
Because I had just gotten out of bed. It was dressed down Friday. It was casual Friday.
Right.
It was pantless Friday. But it's a total accident. It wasn't like, but it'd be one of those things now where you'd hear about some famous New York Times columnist, and that was his thing.
Right.
Like he would never wear pants and always pretend to drop something.
Right. Yeah.
But it was actually
unintentional.
Yeah, it was actually a real mistake because I was groggy.
It happens.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got the moisture sensing Blancpain.
Yeah.
Blancpain.
Yeah.
I leave the country and I'm like the most uncultured sounding person on planet Earth.
You know what the funny thing about America is? Americans will give foreign accents to words, but it's the wrong foreign accent.
Okay.
For instance, like Cannes in France, the town, is pronounced Cannes in French. But Americans will say Khan because they think it's like the Wrath of Khan.
Honestly,
because they think that's the French pronunciation of that word.
Right, because we don't know. We're idiots.
I know, but it's amazing. It's kind of genius. Like if you invented a special accent pronunciation for a word that's completely wrong.
I do this with a restaurant in my neighborhood, and I've been doing it for like 10 years.
What's it called?
Okay, so not to give them like a plug, but yeah, whatever. Like, it's a good place.
Yeah,
it's a good place. They got a little. The bread comes out in a little like a plant.
Ziggurat?
No, like a little pot that you put like a plant in, like the size of like this coffee cup, which is a 16-ounce coffee cup. No, but it's called Anella, right? Anella. Okay.
So what were you calling it?
Agnella.
Like Gianni Agnelli.
I just roll it.
That sounds good.
It sounds good. It's wrong.
How is it supposed?
Anella.
Oh.
Like I just like I'm like, oh, it must be Italian. Oh.
So did you? And have you been have you been pronouncing it to them for the last 10 years, and they never corrected you?
No, I mean I would just say to other people like, oh, do you want to go to Agnella? And they'd be like, sure. And then like finally got called out on it, and they're like, it's just Agnella.
Right.
And I'm like, I didn't know.
No, but you've come back and so actually this is the correct way to pronounce it in Ukrainian. Or now soon to be Russian.
Oh,
I know
for Russia.
Formerly known as Ukraine.
All right, so back to today's watch.
Yeah.
Right. So you've got roughly right now what 5, 6 cars?
Yeah.
In the fleet?
Yeah.
How many watches do you have right now? That your wife knows about. Yeah. What's the wife number? And then you can just like hand signal to me like how many. Yeah.
I would say 25 watches.
That's the wife number?
No, that's the real number.
That's the real number.
Yeah.
Okay. How many does she think you have?
No, she sees
like
them
15?
all. She sees them all. She doesn't care about any of this stuff. I mean, I'd really try and have not. It's kind of like cars. Like I just want to wear everything or drive everything. So I'd rather. I mean, that's still a shitload of watches.
It's a lot of watches.
Yeah, it's a lot. But I talk to friends and they've got 100 or 500, and that those kind of numbers just. I don't know what you do with that.
That's just you're collecting.
You're hoarding.
You're hoarding.
You're not collecting. You're hoarding. You're going to be found dead under a pile of New York Times, Sunday Times magazines, one day. That's what that is.
Yeah.
They'll have collapsed on top of you and you're decomposing. The cats have eaten your face.
That's why I don't have any cats. Skip cats.
Something will have eaten your face. It's New York, man.
That's true. The
Rats,
roaches.
cats, roaches.
Neighbor.
Yeah. Crabs.
Crabs.
They'll migrate up from your pubic area and eat your face.
Oh, it's terrible. Everyone in New York has crabs. It's okay. 25 watches.
Yeah.
And you rotate them out? Like you kind of like buy and sell?
Yeah, I mean, now I've sort of in an area where I feel like this is the thing I'm interested in, but yeah, I'm sure that in 2 years' time it'll be something else. But that's what I'm in right now. Okay.
What is the most recently acquired watch?
An Omega. It's called the Black Tulip. It was a Seamaster quartz that they only made a couple of hundred of. They made them on demand apparently because it's coated in Ceraplate. It's some like ceramic coating that's super hard. So
it's like the early version of like a ceramic bezel sort of thing.
But the whole thing is ceramic.
Like the band, everything.
Everything. But the ceramic and the band, it's ceramic riveted onto steel.
Hold on, I'm going to pull this up.
It's called
here.
Omega Black. So it's. I just think it's really cool. I find that there's really interesting quartz watches from the 80s you can get. That if you wanted to make a collection of quartz stuff, you could find.
That's a really. It's actually really nice. It sort of looks like.
It's weird because it's
a Royal Oak.
I mean, a weird
because of the band, a little.
I mean, if you look in different pictures, it looks black or it looks silver, because
graphite.
It's kind of, and so that's the most recent thing I bought.
Okay, what are you eyeing next?
I don't know.
Like, do you have like a dealer? Yeah, do you have like do you have a hit list? Do you have like a dealer who calls you up and is like, hey, I got this?
There's people. No, I mean, I'm sure that most dealers find me very irritating. I was going to buy a watch this weekend from a dealer, and then he sent me pictures, and I noticed that the band had been repaired, and so I'm sure now he never wants to speak to me again because somehow it's my fault.
Right, it's your fault for calling him out on his bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so no, there's not. I don't really have a list. It's just the funny thing about collecting. I find is that you can look at things for years and not like them, and then suddenly a little cog will turn in your brain, and you'll go, oh. That thing is amazing. How can I not have thought it was amazing all these years?
Right.
Do you find that happens to you?
It happened for me with olives. I didn't like them for a long time, and then all of a sudden, like one day, I was like hungry. Like, there's the only thing on the table. So like, okay, sure. And I was like, oh, it's not so bad.
Funnily enough, same thing for me.
Olives?
I always hated olives and capers. Capers I haven't come around to. I don't like capers.
Yeah, capers are tough.
I hate capers.
Okay, so it's kind of like olives.
But
I'm sure everyone at home can relate.
But capers and olives, I feel like they're
same family.
They're brethren. They're blood brothers.
They might. I think.
Aren't they from the same?
God, I'm going to say.
Are you going to Google?
I got to Google this because I want to make sure I don't say something stupid forever on the internet. It's way too late. Are olives and capers related? That's actually.
They're both qualified as meats.
So here we go. Capers are immature flower buds from the.
So immature.
They really are.
Oh my God! You're like so immature, caper.
They grow from the caper bush.
Wait, are capers like tween olives?
No, but they are.
They're tween olives.
I think
they're always rolling their eyes at olives. Capers are like, oh my god, your eyes are so boring.
now we got to get like a botanist on here to explain.
Let's call in a botanist.
Right? Do we have the budget for a botanist? Can we call one in?
I'm just going to say that capers are tween olives, man.
That's fine.
I'm going to go with that.
We can make that.
They're
true.
surly. They're always rolling their eyes. They go in their room, slam the door.
They do. They got a lot of posters on the wall.
They listen to what's her name, Billie Eilish.
Oh, people like her.
Turn that music down, capers.
Okay, so I got a few more questions here.
Okay,
and then we're gonna.
You don't want to talk about olives anymore?
I'm not really. I mean,
I feel like there's a big demographic of people who follow Mr. Enthusiast who are really into olives and capers.
Well, I feel like they are because olives are like a high class kind of snack.
And I'm a high class geezer.
You really are. So
you know what I like as a snack? Biltong.
Oh, Australian jerky.
No, South African jerky.
Is it?
Get out.
Fuck, you're right.
You've shamed yourself.
It is South African.
My friend
ignorance.
used in boarding school. My friend, he used to tell me it's cured because the way to cure it, they'd have it between the saddle of a horse and the horse's flanks.
That's disgusting.
It's delicious. I don't know if that's true or not, but I always thought, oh, that sounds tasty, which tells you a lot about.
That tells me a whole lot about you on a personal level.
Yeah, which.
Like, oh,
delicious! Animal sweat infused meats.
Oh man, that's a good snack. I like peanut butter pretzels.
I with biltong, soaked in animal sweat, in bull sweat.
Yeah.
You go for peanut butter pretzels.
Yeah, they're a good snack. It's a healthy snack. Okay, so any watches you regret selling?
Yeah, I mean, I sold a couple of Rolex pre-Daytonas. I mean, what will happen?
Pre-Daytonas.
Yeah, what will happen? I like Rolex pre-Daytonas. The stuff, not the Daytonas and the GM, but the stuff that's sort of early '60s, '50s, '40s stuff.
So for the uninitiated, like myself, that's like, oh, it's a Rolex and it's got the chronograph with the.
It's just sort of a fussy-looking Rolex, and there's not many of them. And I'm such a snobby git that I like things that are. I mean, it's not about money; it's about quantity. Like I like things that haven't produced a lot of. I feel like, collecting is a reflection of who you are, so not a reflection of who everyone else is. So when you go to the watch sausage party, I like it if I'm wearing something that other people aren't wearing. Like I find often you go to a watch meetup and everyone's wearing like some version of the same thing.
Are there ever women at these meetups?
No, it's total sausage fest.
Total dudes too?
It's sausage palooza. Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing.
So basically,
Jimmy Dean opening act. I mean,
right.
it's amazing to me. Yeah. And it's kind of sad, actually. I mean, I feel like women should go to. No, forget it.
No, that's not gonna. Nope.
Okay.
That doesn't, no. Family show. This is a family show.
Hey. Wait, Makeel is texting you.
Right. Oh, hold on.
Oh wait, show's canceled again.
Again, you're re-canceled.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because I see a lot of watches in my Instagram feed, but it's all new, shiny stuff.
Well, that's what's really fashionable right now. Look, let me just be clear. It's not that I find those. I think all those GMTs, all that stuff, they're beautiful, super cool watches. I just want to.
Are you saying that because I'm wearing a GMT?
Yeah, I am actually.
Thank you.
I am actually saying that because I was like, oh shit, he's wearing a GMT. I can't insult him. I'm cancelled again. Wait, it's you texting me now. No, because. Look, you know what excites me is imagination and surprise. Like it's so cool when you go to a car show and you see a guy in an Autozam.
Right.
And
You're like, what made you choose that?
I love that. I love the fact that you resisted the gravitational pull of a 911 or whatever it happens to be, and you bought Autozam's much cheaper, but you bought an Autozam. And it's so cool.
Right. So
Have you ever seen one in person?
I've not.
I saw one a couple of weeks ago. It's pocket-sized.
It's like proper K car.
Yeah, really pocket-sized. But it's so cool. It's an amazing thing.
Can you fit in one of those?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't.
No, I bet you could. Surprisingly,
I can't fit in a Miata.
It's not comfortable. You know what? You wouldn't be able to fit in a 220.
So okay, I've actually driven a 220.
Have you?
For a half, 3/4 of a mile.
Wait, how was that? Why have we not? Did you not talk about this when I was blathering?
I don't.
How was it?
Terrifying because it was December of 2009
Okay.
at some random tuner shop in Long Island.
Okay.
And the car was there because some guy just bought it and he was getting exhaust put on it.
Okay.
And the guy that ran the shop was like, I don't know, take it out if you want.
What was it like?
I mean, we were getting photos of it. It was like for like a photo shoot for a car magazine. So like, I was like, okay, cool. Just drive down the block and back.
Right.
And didn't even really get on, just took it down the street, real casual,
Yeah.
Barely rolled into the throttle. And the second there was like even like an ounce of boost start, I was like, oh, fuck this, no way.
But you could tell when the boost's coming on though.
Yeah, no, it was terrifying.
80s boost is like sex. Like the orgasm is coming. And you can kind of...
Do you?
Do you really? Well, okay, maybe other people. I'm like, oh, wait, that just happened? I swear this has never happened before. No, but it is. It's like, the orgasm is happening. When it happens, you start laugh. Okay, no, you know what? I'm just going to start.
You start laughing.
Yeah, I start laughing, then you apologize.
Yes.
Because it's, yeah. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so I have sat in a Jag, and it was tight.
It is,
It
right?
was it's also why I remember the comically small sun visor.
Well, they're just in the way.
Yeah.
Because they're folded down. Because if you fold... Are they folded up? No, if you fold down, then you just can't see half the windscreen.
Right. It's totally useless.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Do you have a favorite car brand?
No. I mean...
Do you have a least favorite car brand?
Not really. I mean, I'd like a lot of... The one thing I will say, if I can say an amazing thing about myself, and there's so many to choose from.
Please, start at the top.
Let's, this should be another podcast. Just Phil
talking about the great things about Phil.
Yeah, I feel like that's a very deep topic. I'm brand agnostic, but I'm not a snob. Like, I like everything. You know, like there's no car brand or watch brand I'm opposed to on just as a I'm interested in everything as long as it's interesting, if that makes any sense.
It makes sense.
You know, so that's why I was watching, do you watch The Late Break Show?
I do not.
I really love that guy, Johnny Smith. I asked him if he'd be interested in doing some Viva Bastardo stuff. We had been chatting, and then it went deathly silent.
That's obviously a yes.
Yeah, I took it as a yes.
Yeah, when the line goes silent, it's a yes.
I stood outside his house. I rang his bell a couple of times. I'm here. But he reviewed, I think it was a Russian Jeep. Is it a Lada maybe or something? It has like the headlights. There has these weird like lights above the headlights. It's sort of weird looking, but it's really, I think it's very cool looking. I just find everything, I'm drawn by aesthetics, really. I'm a shallow bastard. Like, I don't care about how things work. I don't know how things work. That's why I don't care if it's a 4-cylinder, a 6-cylinder, or 12. It doesn't make any difference to me.
Right.
All that matters is how it looks and how it feels when you're driving it.
Okay, so you're the experience and aesthetic guy.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. Like when people say, oh, you have to... should be a 12. I mean, 12. I don't care if it's 12 cylinder. I just,
right. Is the experience enjoyable?
Right.
Does it please my eyes?
That's right. That's the bottom line. Yeah. For everything.
You'd make a great racing driver. Because they tend to not really know about all the mechanical details.
I know, but I'm really a village idiot. I thought, for instance, until very recently, I thought that the spark plugs only functioned when you started the car.
God. Hold on, Mikhail's texting me again.
Cancel?
Yeah. You have to go do training
this
now.
This is relatively... I think until like 2005, 2006, I thought they just kind of started the car and then they stopped.
Just once.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
That's a perpetual... It's not just going.
I didn't realize they were going at all times. Yeah, now the knowledge has increased somewhat. But
all right, I mean, that's... Okay.
Because I was driving the 246 Dino I used to keep it in a public garage down the street for me in the city, and I'd drive it around New York. Like if I was feeling sad or gloomy or whatever, I'd drive the car around. I'd feel so much better. And I have to say, actually, driving that car was like being Elvis.
Right.
It was the only car I've ever driven where women would come up to me.
Yeah, it's funny because most of the cars you describe having,
no one has people either think it's a really shitty car.
Dudes at gas stations want to talk to you. Pretty women on the street do not.
Well, or particularly the Group B stuff, people like the Evo 2, people thought it was just a shitty old car with a really bad body kit.
Right. And they're like, what's this guy do? We drive around this badly modified vehicle.
Yeah, which I kind of loved. But the Dino was so beautiful that people would come up to me. But that car, this is why I'm talking about this. That car, I was driving down second and it stopped working. So because it's the Dino, people are like, oh, of course I'll help you. And they pushed it into a parking spot. And I called up my friend and he said, have you checked the spark plugs? I said, what do you mean? Why would I check the spark plugs? They're only good for when you start the car.
And that's how you learned.
And then then there was a silence.
A very long,
yeah.
like his face, like his hand was definitely like on his face, like
There was a silence and then some laughter, and then are you serious? And then more laughter. Yeah.
like, are you taking the piss?
Yeah, exactly. He was an English guy, so yeah, it wasn't. Are you taking the piss? Of
course, that's the.
And then me going, what are you talking about?
And he's like, oh my god.
Yeah, yeah.
Closing question.
Clothing.
Closing question.
Oh.
Not a. We'll talk about clothing some other time.
Okay.
Because the elephant is all clothing.
Right.
It's a whole different thing. That's the sub-sponsor. Have you ever driven a proper American pickup truck? Like a big Dodge Ram?
Yeah,
or like
actually, I drove once.
Once? You drove a pickup truck once?
Yeah, I was staying with my friend in North Carolina in college, and he wanted me to pick him up from work, and I took his truck, and I pulled out, and got hit by a car and went into some shrubbery and caused like $3,000 worth of damage to the shrubbery of a firehouse. And that was my first experience driving a pickup truck.
So I would understand why you're turned off to potentially driving more pickup trucks.
There's an amazing pickup truck in the garage down the street for me. An old one from like the 60s in a powder blue and white two-tone.
Is it a Ford? Is it a Chevy? Is it a...
It's a Chevy.
A Chevy.
A
Chevy.
It's a Manischewitz.
It's a Manischewitz pickup truck. Okay, yeah. Okay, great.
It's an amazing brand.
Yeah, I saw one of those in South Williamsburg.
It's kosher.
Yeah, no, it's nice.
That's right. It's what all those guys drive in Williams. Yeah. So I don't know what brand it is. I feel like it's...
I feel like we have found a weak spot, and I think we're going to fill this in with education.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think some of them... I like those 40s ones.
Okay.
Those are cool looking. I mean, they were actually.
Would you ever add one?
You
to
know,
the
actually,
fleet?
what I like is weirdly, I like the '80s ones, the super boxy and small. When they were kind of small and super boxy.
I feel like you need a GMC Cyclone.
You know what I really want? I want one of those vans. I think from the '70s with the porthole, the Perspex bubble porthole.
Oh yeah.
And then the howling wolf, and then like a semi-naked lady spray paint on the side.
Right, and there's no seats inside. It's just like a bed and shag carpeting, and like
it's a stained mattress straight from Silence of the Lambs
that you got on Avenue C.
That's
and
right.
kept all these years.
Yeah.
Well, on your van dreams note, I think we'll wrap up introducing you to the audience.
That's enough. I think
at this point they understand who you are,
right,
and what they're going to be in for.
Thank you for, and this will be the first and last Viva Bastardo podcast show.
No, many more to come. But I guess this is where I don't know how to
end it awkwardly.
Awkwardly, yeah, we're just going to awkwardly end it.
Goodbye,
right?
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.